Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Elliott, and welcome to Statistics. We're going to first start with Chapter 2, which is on data, and we are going to split it into two parts. So today we're going to talk about Part 1. So first up, what are data? So sorry for this, it takes me just a second to write because you guys are going to be writing along with me. But what are data? They are facts or statistics. They are collected together. For reference or analysis. I think I can fit this in here. Okay. Now keep in mind that data can be numerical or non-numerical. We can describe data using the 5 W's. I know when I took journalism and was on the newspaper staff when I was in high school, we talked about the 5 W's, which are who, what, when, where, and if possible, why. Okay. Often we can also add how to the list, but not always. So answering the first two questions are essential, and those first two questions were who and what. If you can't answer who and what, you don't have data and you don't have any useful information. Okay, so without context, sorry, it's kind of large. Without context, we don't know who they're about or what they measure. These values are absolutely meaningless. So how can we make meaning clear? Well, we can make meaning clear if we organize values into a data table. So if we organize values into what we call a data table. So you can see our data table here. You have your rows, and then you have your columns. Okay, here, our columns, we have country of origin of visitors, number of visitors, average length of stay. So our columns tell us what has been recorded, And then in our rows over here, we see Italy, China, United States of America, United Kingdom, and the rows tell us who. The rows tell us who, okay? Even if people are involved in the problem, they don't have to be the who of the data. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think this book is going to reiterate the fact that when you read it, you really need to think through things and not assume so quickly. So don't assume that the people have to be the who of the data. All right, the who. In general, the rows of a data table correspond to individual cases about whom, or about which, if they're not people, like I was just saying, that we record when we record some characteristics, okay? So in general, that's found in our rows. In a database, rows are called records. Rows are called records. And then the more generic term is called cases. Okay. Often the cases are a sample of cases selected from some larger population that we'd like to understand. This sample needs to be representative of that population, a kind of snapshot image of the larger world. I know a lot of times we hear statistics that actually involve us, and we think to ourselves, well, no one's ever asked me that question. How do they get that information? Well, a sample of a smaller population has been taken out of a larger population that you do exist, and the data is based upon that smaller population, and therefore summarizes something maybe about you without ever asking you the question. The last two W's that we're going to talk about in this part 1 lesson are the what and the why. The characteristics recorded about each individual are called variables. That is not a new term in a math class. Okay, we know that variables are the things that change. And in statistics, 2 facts about variables. These are usually the columns of a data table. and they should have a name that identifies what? They should have a name that identifies what, okay? To understand variables, you must think about what you want to know. You must think about what you want to know. Some variables have measurement units. Some variables have measurement units. Once again, a term that's not unfamiliar in a math class. These tell how each value has been measured and can tell us the scale of measurement. And I know in math that's always important, how you can scale things. Without units, the values of a measured variable have no meaning. If I said I got a 50 raise, that doesn't mean anything. That has no value. I could have got a 50-cent per hour raise. I could have got a $50 per month raise. I could have got a $50,000 per year raise. So units are absolutely necessary. So how are variables useful? Measured variables can show us patterns and trends. A lot of times in statistics, people are looking for patterns and trends. All right, this ends the notes on part 1 of the first chapter that we are looking into, chapter 2 data. And until next time, I'm signing off.